first round of the college football playoffs feature a rematch, actually multiple rematches, but we're specifically talking about Alabama going to Norman, Oklahoma, a rematch where Oklahoma won the first matchup. A couple of turnovers by Ty Simpson led to some Oklahoma scores in that one. And really, you look back at the game, you're like, man, that is one Bama should have and could have had. Of course, that game was in Tuscaloosa. We're looking at two different teams right now, teams that don't look like necessarily national title contenders despite having the talent and the coaching staffs on them. I mean, this is an interesting game here. CD, we got Bama -1.5 in this one. Books seem to like Bama just a little bit, but I'm not sure that I'm confident enough to give a severe edge to either team in this one.
No, I mean, we did see these two teams play, but it feels like we're getting a couple different versions of this team from, a month ago. I mean, Bama has slowly struggled since that game, and they were kind of, teetering down going into this game as well when they did meet in Tuscaloosa and ultimately lost. And in Oklahoma, obviously, still struggling offensively, getting some guys back healthy, hopefully. So, obviously, flip home field advantage in favor of Oklahoma. Sounds like it's going to be nice and cool down there, 40s and 50s there at night in Norman with some gusts of wind, which will be interesting to monitor there. But yeah, it is interesting. I mean, this is probably, this is the premier matchup, sure, one of them of this weekend, but it'd be one of the grossest games we see in all of bowl season, just with the style of play that you get, especially that Oklahoma wants to play, muck it up, right? Especially when they haven't had a healthy John Tier, which is something to monitor too. I mean, I don't see a lot of people talking about him and getting healthier with 3 weeks off. I mean, it's a big deal for him, really. And hopefully we see the best versions of Mateer because you might need it. And I think you also, on the other flip side, you might get the best version that Bama's played in a long time too. I mean, if you remember this game, yes, you had the turnovers. Yes, Oklahoma won, but Simpson still threw for 300 plus yards. That actually Bama ran the ball with a little bit of consistency, especially with Daniel Hill, getting him going and kind of featuring him as more of a physical back and hopefully getting Jam Miller back healthy to play. Josh Cuevas, a guy who was really good at tight end for Bama, has been such a nice safety blanket for Ty Simpson all year long. Was crucial in that Oklahoma game. Yes, in a loss, but he's been gone since then, missing Auburn and Georgia games. So here we sit here. Bama favored by a little bit. That line dwindling ever more closer to 0 as we get there. How you feeling about it?
Well, I don't feel great about it either way. I'll be picking Bama -1.5. Right, we watched the first game and we saw that Alabama just looked like a better team. Almost doubled their yardage output. If it wasn't for a pick six and fumbles here or there, I mean, it was Bama's game to win. Now, again, that's Bama and Tuscaloosa. Like you said, the Mateer injury, him getting more healthy week over week, I think is a huge factor. But you're looking like as Oklahoma has gone, in the last month of the season, I mean, sure, you're looking at the Tennessee game, but we're not going to look at that defense like Tennessee's defense is some premier defense. We saw it get shredded over and over and over again this season against all different kinds of opponents. But those last 3 weeks, I mean, they didn't score 20 points in any of those games offensively. I mean, because in the Bama game, you had the pick six. So offensively, like you were struggling there at the end of the season on the offensive side of the football. So when I'm looking at this total, CD, 40.5, it's going to be a best bet of mine this week. Yep, there it is. I mean, I've only bet so far totals this bowl season, and I'm going to be sticking with that. Under 40.5 here play for me. You also mentioned it too to me off air. I had no clue, by the way, which actually makes me lean a little bit more Oklahoma, but also more to the under. A little bit windy? CD, is that what you were saying?
It could be interesting. I mean, obviously, with that win, with a couple struggling quarterbacks, yeah, you might want to ground down here, especially if you are Kalen DeBoer and that staff, and you are sitting here for 2 weeks after the SEC title game. Sunday morning, you get your spot. Yeah, great, you're 9. Let's go to Norman and get things packed up. But you probably assumed it's going to be the case anyways, as soon as that Georgia game ended. And what has been the theme? Turnovers, 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 turnovers. You get a little win there. I wonder how aggressive DeBoer and Grubb get. They have been aggressive. That's been their thing. It seems like all the way back to Washington. They've been on national stage in these big games. They have been aggressive. They've gone for kill shots. They've let it throw. All these things. They've gone down swinging. How how are they going to stick to that? Is that going to be part of their game plan, or are they going to rely more on that defense? And if they're just like, listen, we want to be aggressive, we want to preach that, and obviously there's a time and a place for everything, especially down the road. If you do make to more playoff games, you got Indiana sitting for you, that you're going to have to play your A game in that game. Do you feel comfortable with just playing the game straight up? Let's run the ball, control time of possession, win field position, and slowly bleed out this Oklahoma game and not give them short fields. It will be really interesting. But if you're Oklahoma too, on the other side, and you're Ben Arbuckle, like people forget about him in the conversations that were going around with Arbuckle and John Mateer in September. I mean, yeah, we've come a long way since then. Mateer's been hurt, yada, 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 has struggled down the stretch. Looked much better in the LSU game, although the points didn't come out of there, but they still moved the ball well against a really good and well-coached defense, which you'll see again here against Alabama with Kane Womack and all the boys there, hopefully getting a little bit more healthy. Going to monitor a couple guys pregame. Doubt that LT Overton's going to be playing, but I feel like you're going to get some reinforcements back that you lost in the SEC title game and in November for Alabama's defense, especially. But I mean, how aggressive can they be? And if they're Oklahoma, it's like, okay, are we gonna what's gonna be the chess game? What's gonna be the mind games between Venables and his staff versus DeBoer and his staff? It's gonna be really, really interesting.
Also, a key component. We've gone 6 minutes, and we have not said a lick about our Mason Thomas, potentially being back in this game. He didn't play last time against Alabama. And not to mention, Oklahoma had 4 sacks in that game without him in that game. There were some key games this year. Missouri, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, where Ty Simpson took 4+ sacks. Those negative plays will stack up. You're not going to get saved and bailed out on 3rd and long every single time. It's just not going to happen. Our Mason Thomas is an absolute game changer, game wrecker type of defensive personnel with that hamstring injury that he's been battling. I mean, it was November 1st. So that's also a part of that, 3-week long break that you get. Sure, John Mateer gets a little bit healthy, but how about our Mason Thomas? Arguably more important if he's 100%, which I don't know that he'll be 100%, but it's definitely going to be something to watch as we've seen this Alabama offensive line, at least the last month of the season, just maybe not look as impressive as we had been anticipating them being heading into the season.
Yeah, a couple guys get back healthy too. A couple running backs that have been banged up, right? Torrey Baylock and Xavier Robinson. A couple guys, that have looked at times like key pieces of the running game for you. A couple guys with 100-yard games that you hope to get a little bit of success there to help you with your offense. And Arbuckle, and get the big play guys, Satania, Gibson, Deion Burks, and let them be able to create for themselves if you get a consistent running game too, especially in this game too, like coming up early, winning the middle late, stealing the possession. It's going to be all the makings of what seems to be going to be a pretty competitive football game. I like Alabama in this spot. Again, I don't love them, but I feel like this is going to be a spot where DeBoer comes out and it's a masterclass. And it's like, well, everyone's counting him out. Yada, yada, yada. He's going to Michigan. He's going to Penn State, all this kind of stuff. And which is crazy. Anyways, but you get a shot where DeBoer, like, it feels like when his back's against the wall, like good things happen for Alabama or in his teams that he coaches. And this feels like a spot here too. And even though, like, yeah, you're in the playoffs and all this stuff, it feels like almost a must-win game for Alabama, where if you're Oklahoma and you're talking to your fan base, yes, the expectation is college football playoff. I understand that. But it might be a little bit toned down in terms of, well, we're a little bit kind of glad to be here. I mean, there were times when, especially when Mateer got hurt early in that season, you lost to Texas, you thought the season was over. You were looking at the back half of your schedule and like, holy crap, it's going to be tough. And here you are hosting a playoff game, playing with house money. But that don't mean you're going to be any less fired up. That don't mean Venables, who looking to go 3-0 against DeBoer in the past 2 seasons. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I like Bama here.
I don't know that this line will cross 0, but in the off chance that Oklahoma, ends up becoming a favorite in this one, I don't have the number in front of me. Maybe someone in the comment section will, but Kalen DeBoer's record as an underdog against ranked teams is probably absurd. It's probably like absolutely nuts. In games where like Kalen DeBoer, like when it is on the line against teams that he knows he's going to have to like outcoach, he gets his staff together in a big way. And I think Oklahoma has a great staff there, like Ben Arbuckle. Brent Venables, obviously one of the more prominent defensive minds in college football. but I probably give the coaching edge here to Alabama. I give the quarterback edge here to Alabama. I don't know that I give the defensive edge to Alabama here. I think it's pretty equal. Maybe I'll give Oklahoma the edge with a healthy R. Mason Thomas. But just the makings of an absolute classic here heading up in Norman.
Yeah, one thing I'll say is metrically in terms of opponent adjusted, like EPA stuff like that, with efficiency of your offenses, Bama's sitting in 12th still. For all the conversation about how they've struggled and how poor that offense is broken, that's still a really good number. Now I understand that your eyes sometimes tell you things that numbers can't get, and we all look at them this past month going up against three really good defenses, Oklahoma, Auburn, Georgia, and they've struggled for sure. Something you can't just ignore, but that is something that is interesting that they're still 12th. Oklahoma, though, is in the 50s. They're 52. You know who else is in the 50s? Yeah, Arizona State playing with the back quarterback most of their year. You got Iowa.
It's opponent adjusted, by the way. So, like, you can't just say, like, you're right. Like, you can't just say, oh, well, that's because so-and-so plays this team. You're talking opponent adjusted metrics.
This bakes in Oklahoma's tough schedule, and it probably bumps them way up than what their typical, like, EPA would be. Iowa, Northwestern, Virginia, like you got a lot of teams here. Houston's in the 40s, like Clemson and their inept offense. Nebraska with a back quarterback. A lot of teams there that, not typically the offenses you want to be surrounded in the same conversation with. That's the reality of what it's been for Oklahoma. Like, do we see a jump here? Do we see a spot where they click back to September, a nice reset from a tier, Arbuckle, they get a chance to really hone in their skills and put together a big time four-quarter performance. Now, I don't think they need that to win. I really don't. We saw that last time in Tuscaloosa. They didn't need it.
Yeah.
Now, but I think if this game is played straight up again, you are going to need better performances from a tier in that Oklahoma offense for sure. And that's where that kind of comes in. Hard to predict turnovers. I understand that Oklahoma deserves a lot of credit for forcing them and putting Alabama in positions to cause those turnovers or create those turnovers. And obviously, playmaking to capitalize and turning it into a touchdown for Oklahoma. But again, like it's hard to predict when you are previewing games. Like, expect it to be played somewhat straight up, a little bit of variance here and there, but for the most part, I think this game gets played up straight again. I think everyone saw it and everyone said it too. It's like if these teams play again, Bama would still be favored and they would probably still win, and they might win by double digits. Don't think they win by double digits necessarily, but I think they will win.
Half of Oklahoma's fumbles that they recovered on the season were in Tuscaloosa. That tells you something about turnover variance. If it isn't happening, in Norman for them, again, like you said, they don't need turnovers necessarily to win this game, but it would certainly help. I'm not sure that they're going to get it. I mean, the wind makes it interesting. If Ty Simpson is not humming because of that wind, I mean, Alabama has a real problem. Has a real problem.
Yeah, though, one thing I will add too is the kicking game too with the wind conditions. I think it almost now. Yes, you trust, of course, Oklahoma's kicker Tate Sendell has been one of the best kickers in all of college football. He's only missed one field goal all year. Knock on wood, announcer jinx, whatever. But like Connor Talty has struggled right for Alabama this year, and it has been a problem. But it might almost help you where it's like going into the drive where it's like we're gonna go for it on fourth down. We could play for a little bit more aggressively, and in a spot with the wind being so crazy. If you don't want to send your kicker out there, it might be better just kind of throw your offense back out there on fourth down and see what happens, especially in a game where points might be at premium.
And when Kalen DeBoer, we know that he's no stranger to going for it on fourth down with easy points to take a lead.
Yeah. No, it could come back to bite you in the butt. Just ask Ohio State and Ryan Day what they did and 0 points in 2 huge red zone possessions because you went for it and then you kicked field goal and both those things didn't work out for you. That's why those guys get paid a lot of money because those decisions are on them to get their players ready for it as well.